All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am just double checking the audio, make sure everything sounds okay, and then I am just double checking the audio, make sure everything sounds okay, and then yeah, sounds good. Okay, I'm gonna get started now. Actually, yeah, let's get started. I'm gonna get started now. I was gonna tweet this out, but I think this is going to be a rough draft of the mental model that I have in my mind of the VR industry, and I sort of how it's sort of, and so I created an analogy that I think helps me explain it, all the information that I have in my head with better detail, and will it will help you retain that information with this analogy that I came up with, and we'll see how it goes. I haven't I do have I have had used mind maps before. If you've heard of mind maps are basically something like this where you might have like a concept, and then that concept is connected to other concept, and those concepts connected to little other concepts, and so on and so forth, and it just goes on. And so a couple years ago I created a mind map of the virtual reality market industry, and it was cool. But I feel like I want to revise that now. I want to give it some structure. I want to play with the analogy, the narrative that I have in my head, and bring you along with me. Who am I? Why should I? Why should you listen to me? Why are you? Would you waste your precious time the finite time that you have on this planet to listen to me tell you about what I think the virtual reality market slash industry looks like? Well, you don't have to. That's you have free will. You can definitely watch something else. But if you do want to stay and see what virtual reality looks like inside my mind, and perhaps that might help you piece together a better puzzle inside your mind, what this market looks like, and maybe it might open up opportunities for you in one way or another, or maybe not, and that's totally okay. But this is sort of my attempt at figuring out how to make a live stream doing Tiltbrush when I'm not an artist myself. I cannot compete with some of the stuff that like people on Twitter are putting out right now with Tiltbrush, and it's awesome. Um, but what I can provide, what it is sort of my obsession with virtual reality. I've been podcasting about VR for the past 5 years. I've seeked out some of the coolest people I could possibly find, and I try to ask them interesting questions that are, that might make them uncomfortable, or it might make them poke into places that they never been to before. And so with that, this podcast is a vehicle of exploration for me, and you guys get to come along with me. It's called Enter VR, and now I get to bring that knowledge, and you get to see that knowledge volumetrically. You get to see me put that knowledge, that all the knowledge I picked up from having all these different conversations and just spending way too much fucking time on Reddit, um, in the VR subreddits. Now you get to see what all of that looks like. It might make sense to you. It kind of makes sense to me, and this is how I sleep at night, and it justifies my existence. So yeah, I've done a bunch of podcasts. I'm the first person to do an 100-hour marathon live stream in virtual reality. I slept with the VR headset on. I put a VR headset on in the shower, and it was insane. And so I have as much of experience in virtual reality and ability to give an opinion as anyone. so with that being said, take everything I say for a grain of salt. I'm just saying what I see. I'm noticing the patterns that I see, and it makes sense in my mind. Again, this might be either something really valuable to you, or it might devolve into that one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Charlie Day is hunting down is trying to get to the bottom of who Pippa Sylvia is. So I might be pulling off my Charlie Day moment, looking for Pippa Sylvia, but in virtual reality. So come along, come watch this moving train wreck of possibility and opportunity devolve or evolve. So with that being said, let's start with the model. Let's start with what I want to begin with, right? So before we start mind mapping, I spend a lot of time listening to economics podcasts. I spend a lot of time paying attention to subreddits and watching educational videos on YouTube. And so this analogy that I'm about to use sort of helps me give you, provide you the information that I'm about to give. So when you think about the planets revolving around the sun, I know this is gonna be, it's gonna make sense. I promise you, it's gonna make sense by the time I'm done here, right? So this is the there's perpendicular rotation around the sun of all the different planets, and then if you got the sun here, I'm going to mess with the colors a little bit just to make sure I have some. And we have the sun here, and so in school, this is what we've been taught. This is the model of the solar system. Sun planets revolving around the sun, and the thing about that data, that particular piece of data, it's that it's trying to convey something that is happening in 3 dimensions, and you have to try to make that connection with this 2-dimensional sort of information. So when in fact what's really happening is that you have the sun falling through space, circumventing the middle of the center of the galaxy, and along with it you got all the different planets coming along for the ride. And so as you can see, the sun will keep going, and we're just coming along as we all fall through space. And you can sort of see that what I'm trying to get at is that if you can visualize virtual reality as sort of like a star with its own mass, you have companies that are following this trajectory, that are following this mass down wherever the fuck it wants to go. And at the center of this mass, you got a lot of concentration of talent, money, resources in the form of people like Facebook, people at Microsoft, people at Google. And what I'm trying to say is that, for example, when Facebook dropped $2.2 billion in Oculus, that created gravity. And that brought along a lot more people and more stars into the VR market. And that's sort of my analogy. That's sort of where it goes. Again, I am probably having my Charlie Day, Pippa Sylvia moment on the internet. But that's okay. I'm willing to throw crazy fucking ideas out there and to be corrected and to be wrong and at least have fun with it. Again, these are just analogies. I'm just having fun. I'm just trying to figure out a way to make sense of all this information. And now we're going to draw the real map, the whole thing. We're going to mind map the VR industry as the star, right? We're going to use a nice color. I like orange-ish. I like orange. Why not? And I need to make sure I'm in the middle of my living room so that I have a good space. There we go. And so at the center, in my mind, the center is where all the different, where the technology is coming from. It's coming from, companies like Microsoft, and it's coming from people from like Samsung. I'm going to write them out. It's coming out from Google. It's coming from Facebook. Right? So the actual hardware that's propelling this industry, right? That's coming from these companies. and these companies are putting out platforms, right? So this is the core, this is the center of our star, right? These massive companies with all this weight that bring all this gravity, and we're gonna start revolving around. We're gonna create a spiral. I'm just having fun. Remember, these are just analogies, and I just toppled something in my living room, but that's okay. Virtual reality is more important right now. Okay, so there you have it. I hope you can see what I see. I hope it's coming clear. Okay. So there you have it. There's these the center of our industry, our star. And mind you, if you want to get crazy with this analogy, you can think of the star in an economy like the American economy. That would be like the Milky Way, and the Chinese economy is the Andromeda galaxy. And so it happens that both are headed towards a collision course. And so again, it's just analogies. I'm just having fun. But here we go with sort of the platforms that come out of these sort of from the center of the star. So you got places like Oculus Store, and Steam VR, and you got places like the Sony store, PSN. Yeah, I'll put Sony down here too. I mean, they're all over the place. It's all a jumbled mess, honestly. And then you'll have Viveport. But I gotta follow this analogy through because it was making sense a minute ago. So I'm going to die in this sinking ship. And so Viveport, Steam VR, Oculus Store, and so yeah, and so this is sort of like bringing gravity and bringing adding mass to the star that sort of circumvents and intersects other industries that come along. And maybe that industry is gaming, right? Gaming is right close to the beginning, at the center of what's propelling virtual reality. So you'll have gaming, you'll have entertainment. I hope people can see. There's a problem with my headset where it kind of shows what I see, but not really. But again, this is just for fun. I don't expect many people to watch this, and it's more of an exercise for me to get better at live streaming and actually come up with a better model than this. This is a rough draft. Again, I'm trying new things out. I want to see if this works out. And so gaming, entertainment, followed by, I want to say, it's a toss-up between gaming, entertainment, porn, and then you would have, just because there's momentum there, there's mass, doesn't mean I think there's misconceptions on the VR porn side that I'll address in a minute. And then there's social. And social is going to be it's creating, it's a whole genre in and out of itself. I think that VR is creating. Then it's going to be education. Believe it or not, education is going to catch up to all those other sectors / planets with their ecosystems in the industry. And then you'll have healthcare. Health. And did I spell healthcare properly? Yes. That would be embarrassing if I didn't know how to spell properly. Healthcare. And then you'll have, let's see, entertainment. Did I add entertainment already? Then there's definitely like entertainment that's not necessarily gaming. And then you're gonna have something like, I actually wrote down a cheat sheet. I'm gonna check my cheat sheet really quick. Let's see, entertainment. Oh, there we go. Real estate, construction, tourism. Okay, so we'll go with construction. Tourism. Actually, real estate is gonna have more mass, I think, than tourism. Real estate. Then again, what do I know? Tourism. Architecture. And then as you get further away from the star, from the core of the industry, from the where the source of the momentum, the source of the money, all that good stuff, then you're gonna start seeing less funding, and just it's less funding, and it's gonna be more difficult to, I think, gain momentum from those areas. And right there, I think, right there, you'll find apps and products and services and companies that are in the design field. I might get some hate for this, but I'm willing to stand by what I say and change my mind if someone gives me a good argument as to why design and art and productivity are going to be at the tail end. Based on what I've seen, at least, I just don't see that much investment going into these three categories. And even more towards the end, you're going to have the zone of crazy ideas. Anything that isn't covered by any of these thus far is a crazy idea. And it might be a good idea. I'm not saying it might be. It's a crazy. It's a bad. I'm not dismissing it already. Some of the best ideas are crazy. And I should have used another color now that I think about it. This is very orange all of a sudden. But I didn't want to lose my train of thought. That's my problem. I have these trains of thought I just need to keep them going. Otherwise, I tend to forget. But now that we're here, now that we can go deeper and deeper into sort of the planets that surround virtual reality, the star of virtual reality. You'll have in the gaming planet, you have ecosystems. And the ecosystems are basically the types of personas, the kinds of people that you're gonna run into that are coming to VR and gaming, but for what specific reasons? Like you'll have people who are coming to VR gaming just to experience it by themselves. Like I call these people the solo writers. They write solo, and basically right with where they are, you'll have games like let me write that down. Let me change a little bit of the color here, and at the top of what they like, you'll find things like Astrobot Robot Repair, one of the greatest first single player VR experiences in modern history. The shortness of modern VR history so far. You'll find Skyrim VR. All these Skyrim. I'm losing tracking here. But you get the idea. All these games fill that niche, fill that sort of personas, fill that person's needs. And it's not to say that this person doesn't have other needs, but to them, this is where they're gonna spend the most energy in that genre, in that ecosystem, in that planet, so to speak, of gaming in VR. Then you're gonna find people who are, I call them, sort of, and I think who was it? Blizzard did research on a bunch of these, like like the Timmys, the Toms, and the different personas that play Hearthstone and stuff like that. I think there needs to be VR research on the, if there isn't already, I should become I should become more acquainted with it. But there needs to be VR research that says, what are the kinds of people that are attracted to virtual reality, so that one can segment them and like hyper focus and figure out what really are their needs. How do you really communicate with that community and give them value? And so in the gaming space, you also find people who are, I think they're all the opposite of the solo writers. They are there to connect and play and play. And you'll find people that are playing games like VR chat there. VR chat spans VR chat and social VR is wonky because it intersects a lot of things, and gaming is one of them. But you'll find that VR chat is one at the top of that list of like experiences, gaming experiences, and more than that, that people want to enjoy together. And then there's there's Beat Saber. And the thing about why I put Beat Saber here is that this is a particular crowd. They wanna use Beat Saber, you know, sure, like to play solo, but they also use it to share it with people, and they connect that way. I don't know how many stories I've read of like people's families getting more connected because, or friends getting more connected because they were sharing Beat Saber. And so yeah, again, all of this intersects. These models are a giant mess that only makes sense in my mind, but they might be useful to you. And so again, there's other sort of personas in the VR gaming space. I would say there's the hardcore multiplayer people, and they're playing Pavlov and Contractors right now. Those are the guys that are playing Pavlov and Contractors. Yeah, and my tracking sucks right here. Pavlov. If you can even read that, I'm not gonna try. I'm just gonna say Pavlov right there. We're gonna mark it with an X. It's gonna say Pavlov. And so yeah, and so if you go deeper into these planets, again, there's ecosystems composed of these different personas, different people that have a preference towards a particular genre or niche of VR video game experience. And if you know how to map that out, then I think you can put together consistent marketing strategies, consistent community building strategies, and just stay on top of the game. Just stay on top of like your community. Stay on top of what's going on in the industry. Let's see, entertainment. You'll find that entertainment. There's companies like Next. There's ecosystems there too, but I think that it's so early still in the sort of entertainment VR space that like at this point, it's hard to figure out the personas, but I know for a fact that you got companies like Next VR, and I think it's called not Flickr. There's one on PSN. Well, there's another one called Livelike. And these apps stream sports games into your headset, which is pretty dope, I think. Being able to experience your or Netflix VR, if you want to experience like a lot of these like in-home theater like Netflix VR. I would say that like a company like Baobab is another one. You look up Baobab and companies like them, you'll see them filling that interesting VR entertainment category, where they're trying. I think they're trying to be like the Pixar VR, going in that direction. Obviously, there's like Coco VR. There's a bunch of VR experiences. If you go to the free section of the PSN or Oculus Store or Steam, you'll see a lot of entertainment VR apps out there. And so yeah, let's continue forward with porn. I think if anything, this is where I'm gonna get the majority of my views for this video, if at all. But uh, yeah, there's not much information I can share here on besides the subreddits. Honestly, the best place to get all this information, I think, is from Reddit. Um, Twitter tends to be a little bit emotional. Reddit tends to be more composed, and so I recommend Twitter. To and go to I think it's called RVR porn. I mean, a quick Google search won't be very hard. But follow that rabbit hole, young pod one. Follow that rabbit hole and see where that takes you. You'll find that there's so much, and the big, porn companies like Pornhub, like they have their own like investments in the industry, in the sector. I have my own thoughts on the future of VR porn. You can watch my episode with Maurice Obdebek from Kiru VR. You can listen to that conversation on SoundCloud and listen to my thoughts on what the future of VR porn looks like. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of momentum there if there isn't already. Just because it makes so much sense. I really don't have to explain to you why VR porn is awesome, honestly. So I'm just gonna like move on to the next one. If I have to explain to you why VR porn is awesome, then something's wrong with the VR industry. Something's very wrong with our messaging. Okay, so the next one is social VR, and social VR is, I feel like, a unique sort of part creation of the VR industry itself. I mean, I don't think we've seen things like alt space VR before. I mean, yes, we've seen Second Life. We have seen Second Life. I already hear it in my mind. People are like, "What about Second Life?" Yes, we have seen Second Life, but I think there's a deeper emotional connection to this world because of the immersiveness of it. In fact, the fact that I can see you in front of me, physically in front of me, almost physically, literally in front of me, is something that I think shouldn't be taken for granted, that we shouldn't overlook. That people who look at a flat screen will say there's no difference, but people who have tried VR, they know the difference. So things like VR chat and high fidelity are at the top of the list, in my mind, of like the top. And Rec Room is and VR chat, but mostly more Rec Room than VR chat, I think, is spanning the gaming and virtual reality sort of intersections. They're sort of the intersection of both. And yeah, that's the beautiful thing about VR, is that you don't have to box yourself into something. Like, I haven't seen a VR porn social app yet, right? Like, where is that? So there's so much room to play with this sandbox of opportunity that we are creating as we go along. So social's exciting. I feel like it's gonna lead to so much good, and we're gonna move forward to education, where in education, I think, is more so a concentration in simulation training. I think that simulation training for the office, for professionals, for people who, for businesses that want to cut down on training expenses. I think simulation training is going to be a huge part of education. I think schools are going to catch up eventually. Schools they'll figure out a way to integrate virtual reality, like they once try to integrate computers with computer labs. They'll have their own VR labs, but that's going to be way, way in the distant future, just because of the nature of that beast. The education system moves slow, in my opinion, at least in the U.S. Um, but simulation training makes a lot of sense. I think if you've seen Walmart and a bunch of other really big entities are adopting, being more gung ho about adopting simulation training to train workers, and that I think is exciting, because it's going to lead into more jobs. So let's go to healthcare. Healthcare is also cool because VR is still very, very new technology when it comes to healthcare. I feel like the doors that is opening up into the human mind have yet to be fully probed, and that's super exciting. And you have companies doing all sorts of stuff in healthcare. I can name a few here and there, but look at the VR Fund. They're the ones who are sort of yeah, they're the ones who have a pretty good grasp on what companies to invest in that space. Um, all my opinions are my own, by the way. All of this is all of my own. No one's paying me to do this. I just wanted to share because I figured, why not? Also, I point out that at the center of this momentum of this star that's giving energy to the star is VC money. And VC money is, oh, look how it glows. VC money has been useful in propelling, even from a marketing perspective, just the VR industry. Just people seeing the fact that there's momentum, that VCs are investing. I think that's helped create a lot of momentum for the industry. Did I already say entertainment? Did I say entertainment earlier? Gaming. I did say entertainment. I repeated myself. Okay. Well, let's continue. Then there's going to be construction. I think construction companies are going to definitely take advantage of VR, the visualization aspects of getting people trained, getting sites pre-rendered in advance. I think that's going to be useful. And I don't know whether real estate and construction, I don't know which one's going to be more important than the other, but I know they'll play a role. I know that you'll have companies like Matterport. Again, not endorsements, just companies I've run across that are in my extensive obsession of being on Reddit. This is which I call research, VR research. And so you have companies like Matterport who probably raise about like tens of millions of dollars in sales just doing 3D scans of real world places. So they're interesting to look at, and they're the first place I think of when I think of VR real estate, and construction, and even architecture to a degree. Tourism. Tourism is cool. I feel like tourism tourism is interesting. I think there's companies out there who would benefit from incorporating VR, like Yelp. Not that Yelp is working on anything VR related, but it would make sense. It would make sense, like Square, you know. It would make sense to incorporate sort of this a VR immersive aspect to it. It might be AR, either or. I think tourism is untapped potential for the VR industry, and so definitely more worth looking into. And again, like I said earlier, I'm gonna keep revising this model if I get suggestions, feedback. I can improve on what I've sort of thrown out there, and yeah, I'm definitely willing to make it better and make it more cohesive and make it more valuable if there need to be. Architecture, Again, I would go to Matterport for that one, just off the top of my head. There's so much VR. There's so much to know about VR. Honestly, there's so much to know. There's not one person. I don't know a single human being. And if there is a single human being out there who knows every single company, knows every single person, let me know. I want to interview them. But there's so much to know that it's still, and it's so early days still, that it's just so exciting. It's insane. I've never been a part of something like this. And design is cool because in design you'll find things like Tiltbrush. Tiltbrush. Jesus, typing is not easy. Tiltbrush and Medium and Sculpt VR, for example, that help you design stuff in virtual reality. And there's a bunch of others that I think are super cool. I think art is also super dope because it's allowing artists to have a template, a new canvas on which they could bring in their imagination in that. And we were barely scratching the surface of what's available out there. I would highly recommend looking into organizations like Kaleidoscope. I think it's Kaleidoscope VR. Scope VR. Because they have a lot of connections with VR artists. And there's another company from Germany that I did a podcast sometime in September in 2018, and I can't remember the name. I am so sorry for that. That sucks. I can't believe. Oh, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. But shout outs to them. There's another company from Germany. I'll continue. Let's continue. It's to the tip of my tongue. That is also working in sort of this art museum curation space. And I really dig their work. But I can't seem to remember them for some reason just now. Moving on to productivity, I think you'll find apps like Virtual Desktop out here. I think productivity in VR is going to be a bigger player in the space the moment headsets get higher resolutions. I think OVR drop. You'll find here OVR drop. And yeah, that's productivity for now. And then in crazy ideas, what's a crazy idea out there that could just work? Huh. Well, I always dig the idea of using like VR in water parks. So like underwater water VR like hardware like HMDs where you can like use the headset underwater or in the water. That's super cool. That's a crazy idea. Whether it will survive the test of time, we will see. I think there's a miscellaneous section in all of this that I haven't really covered, and I think that's the peripherals, like the haptic feedback stuff, like the Tesla suit and the tactical haptics controllers, um, tactical haptics controllers, and things like tactical haptics. I know my friend Sabre Bruce is working for a company. Shout out to him, but I don't know what company. I don't remember what company you're working at right now. Again, a tip of the tongue, one of those. If you guys know where Cymatic Bruce is working at right now, you get extra points. And then there's a whole nother section here that as I keep exploring my VR mind map, I realized that there's the creation engines, VR creation engines like Neo's VR, Symmetry, Unity, Unreal. And what else? Crytek, CryEngine, Lumberyard. Did Amazon buy Crytek? Am I saying Crytek and Lumberyard are the same one? Just in case, I'm gonna say Lumberyard. And there's A-Frame and WebVR. They are creation engines. And they intersect again. All of this is a jumbled mess. The moment you start realizing that a lot of these things intersect, like VR chat is also a part creation engine. People are creating whole worlds in there, but it's also a social VR space. So again, the analogy breaks down the more you dig into it. But I think that as a way to tell you a narrative, it kind of makes sense. It's just it's just a fun way to look at the VR industry in this kind of narrative. And this again, a star falling through space, and you got all the different planets in the form of companies, coming along as we all fall through space. And yeah, and the virtual reality is a star, and the Milky Way galaxy is the American economy. And as long as our galaxy is okay, VR is okay. And yeah, just like that, I think I might start bringing things to a close. Let's see if I have any comments. I doubt it, but this has been fun. Again, I've been having fun with this. It's just an analogy. I think VR intersects. There's so much more I missed out. But just to give you a quick overview of VR, of what it sort of looks like in my mind, and how and maybe it might be useful to you. I just put this out there. So let me check the comments really quick. Nope, it's just me, which is nice. I get to do this multiple times, depending on feedback. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. And yes, let me know if this was useful, respectfully, of course. And let me know how I can improve it. And if you want me to do another one where it's a little bit more fleshed out, I can spend more time actually making it look nice. In any case, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.